we
And we're
have,
live.
I'll say that, Paul, when Jeremy goes live.
We're live.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to our school committee meeting. So we have member Allen, member McFadden, member Donovan, member Green, myself, member Panday. We have the superintendent, Mr. Anakis, director of administration, Mr. Ross, legal counsel, Mr. Hennius, and our director of technology running the meeting, Jeremy Taylor. I think I got everybody. Okay, so let's get started.
I'd like to take a point of order at this point, Madam Chair. I'd like to remind everybody that this is a school committee meeting for school committee members and not a public meeting.
Well, this is a school committee meeting, but it's a, Andrew, I'm going to let you speak. It is a school committee meeting, so it is, people can call into the meeting. The public.
All right, so you're obviously
call
asking
in.
me what do I, you're inviting me to ask what I mean. This is what I mean. It's a school committee meeting. It's held in public, and that means the members of the committee, get to express their opinion before anybody else on any subject matter that appears on the agenda. And technically, I shouldn't even hear anybody unless a member of the school committee solicits an individual who's not on the committee a question. But I think it's suffice at this point just to say the committee members have a right to speak their piece prior to anybody else. Again, school committee meeting, not a public meeting, but it is held in public. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Jim?
Okay, under consent, we have the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on June 10th. We have 2 athletic resignations, our monthly bills, and then a series of homeschool approvals for returning families for the next school year.
Okay, anybody have any questions or like anything pulled?
I like something pulled.
Go ahead, Paul.
The bill.
The bills? Okay. Anyone else? Cheryl, I think you need the minutes pulled,
Yes,
correct?
I do. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Okay. Let's have a motion to approve the consent agenda less the bills and the meeting minutes of June 10th.
So moved.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I don't know if I so moved or second.
Okay, Diane, okay. Diane,
I'll
you can be the
second.
second. Okay, one of you can be the second. We'll do, member Donovan made the motion, member Allen is the second. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, reminder, we're doing roll call vote. So we have member Donovan,
Aye.
member Green.
I'm abstaining. I mean, I
We
can't
we
vote
pulled
on this.
we pulled the minutes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, so motion carries. Let's have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 10th.
Member Donovan, so moved.
Do we have a
Member
second?
Allen, second.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
member Green.
Aye.
Nope, now you can abstain.
Oh, sorry. Abstain.
Member Allen,
Aye.
member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Okay, member McFadden, you had a question on the bills.
Bills, Bob, you there?
Bob's on. He's on mute though.
Yep, I'm here.
Bob, I see, and only Bob. I see a bill for 2288 from the solicitor. Do you have anything that you could expand on what those bills involve? Can you expand on that?
I don't have the detail in front of me, but I know it's for multiple services speaking extemporaneously. I know that the green contract was in there for the virtual metering, the Ocean State contract, and probably other items I know that are dealing with issues generated out of the superintendent's office regarding personnel issues, DCYF, that kind of thing.
What was the green thing?
That was a virtual net metering with green development, just putting the final touches on that contract.
All right.
Okay.
Satisfied.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve the bills.
Member
So
Donovan,
moved.
so moved.
Okay, Donovan moved. Do we have a second? Paul, you want to be the second?
Second.
Okay, let's see. Roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
member Green,
Aye.
member Allen,
Aye.
member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay. Okay, we have correspondence. We have the meeting minutes from the Capital Project Building Committee. Any questions on those? Everybody's good?
Mhm.
Okay, so we have the 2020-21 budget.
There's not really much to report on 2021. We have, we held our public hearing on the budget last week. We have the all-day referendum scheduled for the 30th, which is next week.
Has anyone heard anything on what the General Assembly is thinking about for that, for our state aid? Or is it just like,
I was on a conference call today with the governor's office, and that question came up from multiple districts, and the representative from the governor's office, Kevin Gallagher, told us that we should be planning for full state aid based on what was represented to us at the last, with the last spreadsheet. And that has to do with the application of stimulus funds to offset the budget, and they have apparently figured out a way, they think, to make that happen for districts. That was freshly announced news today when the question was asked. I don't have it in writing, however.
Everybody's good? Okay. We'll move on to new business. So we have the 2020-21, I believe it's another revised calendar, correct, Jim?
Correct. So in the packet, the original packet, I had included the statewide calendar that was announced by the governor as an executive order. We had previously adopted a school calendar back in February for 2021. Now that the 2021 calendar is in the form of an executive order that covers the 180 days of school for kids, we are required to adopt that calendar. So I simply matched the calendar to the state calendar, but added in the 4 additional days that are required per our contract. And the way that I did that was I kept the professional development day on September 8th. That is primary day. I added 2 professional development days the week prior to the start of school for children. So that will be on the 27th and 28th of August. We will need that additional time for last minute planning and required training around safety protocols based on the guidance that was released last week for reentry. And then we maintained our all staff orientation on that Wednesday, the 26th. So the 4 additional days are all up front, August 26th, 27th, 28th, and then September 8th. Our last day of school, which is the same across the state, will be June 16th. There will be no snow or weather days. All of those days will be made up through the distance learning virtual format. You'll notice on the calendar that was sent out after the release of the packet, I've highlighted in green all of the distance learning professional development days that the state has built in. So those will be partial days for students, almost like an early release day, 4-hour abbreviated distance learning in the morning, and then in the afternoon will be the professional development opportunity for the staff. So that is also following the state calendar. The only other thing that I maintained, which is different from the state calendar, are the parent conference days in October. If we took away parent conferences, that would be a pretty significant issue, particularly for the younger kids. I suspect that we will have to do all of those virtually, but we'll make that decision as we get closer to that time. So those are the adjustments that were made to the calendar. Unfortunately, for us, the only real change is that we had previously taken off the 23rd of December, which is the day before Christmas Eve. That is included on the state calendar by executive order as a day of school for kids. So that change has been reflected as well on this revised calendar.
Okay, any questions?
I
Go
have-
ahead, Terry. Yep.
Thank you. With regard to the snow days, I know that the rest of the state probably thinks in terms of snow, but I know that we've canceled school because roads have been blocked due to fallen trees and, septic system issues, water well issues. So I know, from my own experience within the district, that sometimes when we have a snow day or any other kind of emergency like that that's related to the weather, we also lose our internet service as well. So knowing that the distance learning is pretty dependent upon that, how will that be accommodated for our students who don't have that accessibility on those days?
So really great question.
Mhm.
That has to be part of what we submit for the 3 plans that are due on July 17th, because distance learning for us is going to, we have to assume that we are going to move in and out of distance learning on a pretty regular basis next year. Not necessarily district-wide, but sometimes classroom-wide, school-wide, based on illness and quarantine and that kind of thing. We will be working with teachers on creating both virtual lessons as well as kind of take-home lessons in a bag almost for the elementary students, so that there's always something in the event of an emergency, a weather emergency. I say snow day, but what I mean to say is weather day. There should be no days that are missed of school that will require a makeup at the end. We have to have a plan for technology related lessons. We have to have a plan for non-technology related lessons. Now that the challenge is going to be on the days where there's no internet, it's going to be hard for teachers to connect with the students. So we're going to have to be really careful about what we ask students to do on those days, which should not require a lot of hand holding by the teachers. But that is absolutely a challenge for us, for sure. We started, well, I'll get to that later, but part of the plans that we have to submit are some pretty elaborate details around how we're going to structure distance learning under multiple scenarios, meaning technology is available, technology is not available. So we're working on it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Good. Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve the revised 2020-21 school calendar.
Member Donovan, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Allen, second.
Okay, do a roll call vote. Let's see, Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we have the 2020-21 athletic handbook for review and approval.
Okay, so these were prepared by our athletic director every year around this time, usually a little bit earlier, but we had a few things going on. The handbook and the coach's handbook and the athletic handbook are reviewed, and any adjustments are recommended by the athletic department in consultation with the coaching staff. So all of the changes that Craig recommended are highlighted in yellow. And of course, this assumes that we have sports each season. This does not guarantee that we have sports each season. We have to wait for guidance from the Interscholastic League and from the state around group size and athletic contests and so forth.
Okay. Any questions on the athletic handbook?
I have a question, Claudine.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
The parent expectation, the 24-hour rule, an issue or concern during a game or contest, the parent should wait at least 24 hours. I love that rule because I do that. But what if there's a concern, like, I mean, is this, I would hope there would be a little bit of leeway there if there was a concern with like somebody using drugs or like an injury or something else.
Yeah, so the last sentence of that, Cheryl, in parentheses,
The
he makes
immediate
that
health or safety.
qualification.
Yeah. Okay.
This is more, we've had some issues with, some
Like playing time and things like
complaints
that.
around playing time
Yeah,
and,
that's what I
in the
figured.
heat of the emotion, sometimes it's not really the right time and place to have that discussion in front of kids. So
Right.
this is for that purpose, but obviously medical emergency, immediate health and safety, injuries, those kinds of things, that this does not apply to those kinds of situations.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, I have one question. Jim, under medical insurance number 2. So it says all student athletes also must purchase student accident insurance plan before they can practice. And then it says where the athletic director, I guess, modified it. It is responsible for the student athlete to purchase and submit the insurance to the company once the information is made available to them by the district. So that's fine. But I also want to make sure the athletic director is confirming that each athlete purchase the insurance before they start practice.
Right.
So how does that, I don't know if that needs to get written in here or if that is something that we're going to do as a protocol for the school.
So I don't know the answer to that question. I can easily find out. In fact, I can even text Mr. Main right now while the meeting is in session and see if I can get an answer for him. But I do believe that we have access to a report by the company. So for families that purchase the school-based, they must, the student accident insurance plan, that we get a report from the company on who's covered. But I can verify that with Craig during the meeting to get an answer for you.
Okay. I just want to make sure that Craig knows that he has the responsibility to make sure the students are covered, like they got the insurance.
Yep, understood.
Okay, excellent. Everybody's good? Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve the 2020-21 athletic handbook as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's see. Our roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now we have the coaches handbook review and approval.
Hold on, I was typing to Craig.
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right, so you'll notice that, again, his changes are in yellow. And these changes are fairly self-explanatory. The changes reference volunteer coaches, and he has built in the language to make it consistent with our policy. He wants to make sure that we're strictly following the rules around background checks, and coaches at the tier 2 level have to do the full CPR first aid certification and the concussion course, sudden cardiac arrest. So those are all things that all athletic coaches are required to have. Even if they're volunteers, according to our policy, they are required to do that, to submit evidence of completion of those expectations as well. So he wanted it to be explicitly clear in the coach's handbook. And again, I've checked, it is completely aligned with our current policy.
Okay, any questions? Jim, I just have one. It's not a question, actually. I just need something added. So I don't know what page it is. Let's see. Under volunteer coaches. It's probably page 6. The first sentence where it says all volunteer coaches must be approved by the athletic director. That should also say and school committee.
That's what our current policy says, right?
Yes, correct. It does on page 1, 2, 3, on page 4 where it says preseason responsibilities. Under bullet number 2, it does say volunteer coaches must meet certification requirements, be screened for a criminal background check, and be approved by the school committee.
Okay.
So it is in there. I
Okay.
just think the words are missing from that
Got
one.
it. So I will, when I talk to Craig about the other question, I'll make sure that he adds that into the, this is a Google Doc that's online, so he can just make the change and it will become available immediately to everybody that accesses it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's see. If we can have a motion to approve the 2020-21 Coaches Handbook as presented.
As amended, right?
Oh, I apologize, as amended. Yep.
Member Donovan, so moved.
Second.
Okay, Member Green seconded. Okay, Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're on the food service management company annual renewal.
I'm gonna let Bob handle this, and Mr. Main just texted me that he's available, so I'm gonna get an answer to those 2 questions for you and jump right back on.
Thanks.
Okay, so this is the this is the second year of our 5-year contract with Aramark, and it's renewable on an annual basis. They submitted their agreement with their guarantee of $26,225 for the school year 7/1/20 through 6/30/21. We've had great success with Aramark over the past, we're going on 7 years now, so kindly respectfully request the motion to approve.
Do we have questions? Bob, I have a question. Maybe it's just how it was worded. So I was confused by with a base contract guarantee of 26,225. So who's providing the guarantee? Is the school providing that? That
No.
amount will be, or it's a food company that will, so it's their
Aramark
base.
guarantees that.
Okay. Is there always a number in there?
Yes. Yeah, and they guarantee, that's part of their budgeting and their proposal for each successive agreement for the 5 years is to write in a guarantee. And that's where, we'd either, if they weren't hitting their marks and they felt that we needed to adjust our pricing, then they could ask for that in order to provide the guarantee. But we're doing fine as we are. There's no price increase. We haven't had one in years. Our food program is pretty remarkable in what we were able to do.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's definitely improved through the years. Good. Okay. I was confused. I thought we had to provide a guarantee. Okay,
No.
so it's
No.
their number. What is it? Is it the same number as it was last year? 26,225?
So, no, last year it was a higher number, but then we had to modify based on the 3 months loss of revenue, basically, that the program didn't run. So they had I don't have it in front of me, but it was, I think, in the $30,000, $35,000 range, but they lost 3 months of revenue, really.
Okay. Okay, I'm good. Anybody else have any questions?
Mm-mm.
Everybody's good? All right. So if we can have a motion to approve the food service management company renewal contract to Aramark with a base contract guarantee of $26,225 for 1 year commencing July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
So moved, Alan.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, thanks, Bob, on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have the rubbish removal renewal extension to MTG Disposal LLC.
So this is just another contract extension for the rubbish removal. Those are the bins that you see at all the schools. They're asking for a $600 increase on the base fee. And that's like 2 times a week pickup for the dumpsters that you see, keeping the extra trash pickup and the extra recycle pickup at the same pricing. So again, this is an extension of an existing, which, the goal is to get out and do a rigorous bid with this, but there's just not a lot of players and people are still mystified at how we have such a great rate. So.
Okay, any
I just-
questions?
Yeah.
Everybody's good?
Mhm.
Okay. So if we could have a motion to approve the rubbish removal contract extension with MTG Disposal LLC with a base cost of $5,900 for the contract period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Member Donovan, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second, Alan.
Member Allen, okay. Okay, we'll take our roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the next one? Workers' comp.
Okay, we have the workman's compensation insurance renewal extension with Beacon Mutual Insurance Company.
Yep. So this is the workers' comp insurance. The carrier for this is obviously Beacon Mutual, but we use Starkweather and Shepley as our rep on this, kind of like our broker. They've solicited two providers of workers' comp insurance, and the Beacon consistently does better. The competition to Starkweather and Shepley and to the Beacon would be the Trust, but again, this is just a renewal year for us, so we didn't need to go out to bid, but next year will be a bid year for us.
Hey,
Any
Bob.
questions? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Bob, I've asked this question before. So this is workers' comp, like I stub my toe at work and I'm guaranteed my salary, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So I personally, as I thought most people had, state workers' comp, right? And the employee pays that and not the employer. So we don't have that as well, do we?
I'm not sure of the question. If you could just restate it.
So it is required under state law, if I'm employed, that I have to participate in the state workers' comp, where I stub my toe and I still get paid. You understand that? There must be other people here on the committee who knows what I'm talking about. Okay.
I'm thinking that what we require is, say we bring in a third party to come in and consult in the district, to do work in the district. They have to provide to us that they have workers' comp insurance, that they're self-employed and they have workers' comp insurance. But as the employer, we have to have workers' comp for our employees.
Right, but for this is where I'm confused. I want to make sure of this. So on our hypothetical, on an employee's hypothetical not W-2, but on their check stub, they don't get a withdrawal to participate in state workers' comp.
Correct.
A deduction. You know what I'm saying?
Nope, absolutely. I know what you're saying. Nope, we pay that.
So I thought that was a state law that we had to participate in that all employees had to pay into the state fund, right? Hello?
That has not been that is not any legal guidance that I've ever heard of.
Well, let's turn it over to our solicitor. That's a question for Andrew.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Paul, I do know that municipalities and or cities and towns had the opportunity some time ago. I'd have to double check the statute, but to opt out of workers' comp, if that's what you're asking. Like, in other words, I know that from experience, East Providence, maybe just teachers or perhaps the whole city is opted out of the state workers' comp. As is the Warwick teachers are opted out of the state workers' comp. But I believe that was a window that closed a while back. I'd have to double check the statute.
Okay, so do you know of a law that requires non-municipalities, like Joe Schmo employer, that basically, I was under the understanding that if let's just say I'm not employed by a municipality, I was required under law to participate in state workers' comp, which means that I paid for it, not my employer.
But I believe that's correct, Paul. I would again have to look at that, but I believe it's any private employer who has at least one employee. If you're self-employed, obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but if you're self-employed, I don't believe you have to carry that coverage. I'd have to research that, but I do believe if you've got employees, you have to have that coverage.
Got it. So in Rhode Island, public employees are not required to participate in state workers' comp. I got it.
No.
Okay. I got it. They're not required. Okay.
No, that's not what I said. I said there was an opt-out period some time ago.
Oh, there was an opt-out period. We've obviously taken that opportunity somehow, some way, at some point. And as it is, we pay the nut. We pay it. We pay it, right, as an employer. Right. Right, Bob, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's
Yep.
what this,
Yeah, that's what this is about.
okay. Got it. Thanks.
Everybody else is good? Okay. So if we can have a motion to approve the workers' compensation insurance renewal contract to Beacon Mutual Insurance for the annual premium of $78,610 for the contract period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Member Donovan.
So moved.
Oh, sorry. Went right to voting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Now we'll do our roll call vote. Member Donovan.
Aye.
Member Green.
Aye. She was so quick though.
I know, right? I was right on top of it. Member Allen.
Aye.
And Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we have the multifunctional digital copier / printer bid award.
Okay, so this was a bid year for the photocopiers. There are 18 photocopiers across the district. The incumbent was Innovex, who is usually a very aggressive bidder, but as you can tell by the bid tabulation page, on the strictly dollar and cents, that they came in like fourth. But then when we started doing some further analysis of the bid, they moved up to second. But Toshiba, who I'm recommending, was really aggressive on their CPP, which is their cost per print. And they come recommended from Woonsocket uses them, and Central Falls uses them. Some other districts use some of their fleet is leased to Toshiba, but I used Jeremy to help assist with looking at some of the more technical aspects. And at the end of the day, it's a great deal for the or a good deal for the district. It's right on budget, which is awesome. And as you can tell by the bid tab, it was we had several 6 bidders, so that's an indication it was a really a good bid.
Any questions?
Was the service level agreement similar to Toshiba's, similar to their predecessor?
Yeah, they're all in the in the 4-hour response, and then within 24 hours, to come on site and fix the machines. And then there's language that allows us to say, you've got to give us a machine if it goes on for, I think, over 72 hours without without explanation. So we can just say, you need to take this machine out and give us a new one. Everything else was the same. There's a lot of functionality that these machines do now, in central to the bid was the fact it's called a paper cut, but it's just a management tool to track usage and how the machines are being used. So that was all included. So very, very good bid.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Claudine.
Go ahead, Terry.
Are all of the units on the network, or some of them?
They're all on the network, so that's a good thing. So that helps us with a lot of our printing, and directing traffic towards the printers as opposed to, to these multifunctional devices as opposed to standalone printers. And that's where it kind of diverges into Jeremy's world. The goal is always to try and get, the least amount of platforms under service, so they work great, and it's amazing. I mean, people who are in a modern day office, it's all PDF, download, scan, and upload. It's really, they've come a long way, and more people are embracing it. So it's going to be good.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Everybody's good? Okay, so if we can have a motion to award the Toshiba Business Solutions the multifunctional digital copier / printer bid number 20-21/01 with an annual total of $45,259.11 and total 4-year term of $181,036.43 for the contract period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024.
Allen, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, we'll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
I do have the information on the athletic questions, if you want me to go back to that now, if it's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So the adjustment on the coach's handbook, that is, well, actually, let me do the other one first, the athletic handbook. That is the insurance question.
Yep.
So he does get a list from the insurance provider multiple times per year so that he knows who is covered. The issue that has occurred in the past is even when the students submit the document through him, it doesn't mean that the check won't bounce or that some other issue happens, right? So he may submit the document, but it doesn't ensure that they actually get covered, because if the check bounces, just as an example. So the list from the company verifies who is actually covered. In addition to that, he has built in an attestation form that both the student athlete and the parent has to sign off on, along with other forms that are required, like that they have done the concussion course and that kind of thing. So he's actually built in an additional step beyond the list that is provided by the student insurance company, so that he can monitor who is covered.
Okay, so I just know there's always an issue with this insurance. So you know what my concern is, right? And I know Andrew knows what my concern is. So I guess we don't have verification from a player. They go to practice, they get hurt. Let's say it's a situation where the check bounced, and then they sue the district or come to us for all their health coverages. So how do we fix this whole insurance process where we know that the kids have insurance? I guess I'm just talking out loud right now.
Yep.
So they get it. So Craig gets a list. Does he even get the list before practices start? Like, I don't know when the list comes.
So the list is generated multiple times throughout each season. What we've never had before is something where the parents are signing off that they have done what they're required to do by our policy, which is to secure the insurance. So that's just an additional document that we now have.
Okay, which is good.
I don't know what the solution would be because we don't really, we can't have any way of tracking whether or not a check bounced, other than
Yeah.
to wait for it to get to the company to produce the new list and to send us the list. We realize Johnny isn't covered, and now it can be addressed. But in the meantime, Johnny might have played a game.
Yeah.
So
So I
that's
guess if
what's happened in the past. And we've
So-
never had a parent sign off to attest to the fact that they've done what they're supposed to do by policy. So that's something that was added.
Yeah, which is
Um,
good.
yeah.
So I guess if we do we're doing our due diligence, can Craig ensure that he gets, I guess, the initial list before practices start? Because the parents have to mail it in before practices start. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I can ask him when he gets the first list. I did not ask him that question when I had him on the phone.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know, as long as we can only do what we can do. So I guess if we
Yep.
do our due diligence where we're getting the list before practices start,
Yep.
we don't have control over bounce checks, right? So
Right.
if we get that list, so we can, a student can't practice before their insurance is in place.
Okay,
just kind
so
of
then
affects-
on the,
Go
oh,
ahead.
you want me to move on to the handbook?
Yeah.
So the handbook, I had a conversation with him because I'll tell you what he's trying to do. The issue is going to be that we would have to spell out what he's trying to do through the current policy of the school committee. Because the current policy of the school committee says all volunteer coaches are approved by the athletic director and the school committee. All volunteer coaches have to have all of those requirements, right? And typically a volunteer coach is what he describes as a tier 2 coach. So it's somebody that the head coach brings on, wants to help out the team, is there for all practices, maybe works with a particular group independently of the rest of the coaches. So we require the same level of scrutiny as everybody else. The issue that he has come up with, that has come up a couple of times, is, the tier 2 volunteer coach is absent one particular day. It's a baseball game. I need somebody to coach third base. The student's parent is a spectator and says, I can coach third base for this particular game, when they've not been approved by school committee. And they have certainly maybe have not gotten the BCI check and the CPR and first aid and the concussion course and everything else, but they are operating in the complete open under the direction of the head coach, somebody that has been approved by the school committee. So it's more of that kind of a unique situation where they're in a pinch and they need somebody to pitch in, but they're not doing it independently. And he's looking for some kind of clarification that would give some leeway in that kind of a situation. Again, it is not what the current policy says. So I need the current version of this handbook to reflect what the current policy of the school committee is, meaning that all coaches have to be approved by the school committee. And if he wants to recommend some kind of an adjustment or a clarification between a tier 1 and a tier 2 coach, we have to do that through a policy adjustment. So I will work with him on that, and we can bring that to the policy subcommittee for a discussion, and we can make decision about our recommendation to move forward. So the short answer is the change will be made as requested.
Okay, I'm liking the short answer, and yes, that definitely needs further discussion.
That's what I told him.
Okay. Okay, Jim, are you good to go to unfinished business?
Good.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll head to unfinished business. So we have the vendor contract update, discussion, and action. And I'm going to give Andrew the lead on this one to go over the addendum that was finalized.
Sure. So several meetings ago, I believe it was Bob made a presentation to the committee that Ocean State Transportation was requesting 34% of their regular monthly billing for the months of April, May, and June. And the school committee charged myself and Jim and Bob with the going back and negotiating the terms of a potential amendment and then bringing them back to the school committee. A majority of the terms that were put in here were put together by Mr. Ross, essentially what services he needed to ensure would be in place. If you recall, his biggest concern, and Bob, if I misspeak, please correct me, but his biggest concern and his reason for supporting this payment was making an effort to make sure that the buses are up and running at the start of the school year, assuming we're ready to go back to school. That was his real concern, is that if we didn't make this payment or these payments or didn't work something out with Ocean State, that it may be that they have no buses ready to go when we start school. So I believe a copy of the document that where we're at now was provided to everyone, I think today, and I apologize for the late notice. We just sort of wrapped it up, if you will, yesterday. But essentially it requires OST to continue their recruiting, continue to develop, keep their drivers ready and licensed, and be ready to go when school opens August 31st, beginning of September or whenever. It also requires them to continue to meet with the administration, kind of keep them updated as to where things stand, work with the administration to address any lingering COVID-19 issues that may linger into next school year, whether it be changing routes. We've heard this, we've seen the new plan from the governor about what the seating is supposed to look like, at least as of today, that sort of things. It requires a number of different meetings between the parties, end of June, just to kind of talk about where we are, what things look like. If school does not open up in August, September, the parties are required to get back together and look at this again. It obviously requires your district to pay 34% of the regular billing from April, May, and June. I don't have that figured right in front of me, but I'm sure Bob has it. And then there's just some additional language that talks about this agreement only covers April, May, and June. School committee still reserves all its rights from the original contract. Ocean State waives any rights to request any additional monies from us for April, May, and June. And then the provision that was a bit of a sticking point, but we sort of worked our way through it, was if in fact Ocean State receives any kind of a federal payment or any kind of federal monies through the CARES Act or anything like that, they're required to sit down with us and work out something that's proportionate to the amount of money they received, but is also proportionate to their contract with our district. So in other words, they're obviously a national company. Their concern was, what if we get $100,000 through the CARES Act? Do we have to give it all back to you? That's not fair. So what we talked about was this sort of proportionate language. So that's really where we're at. Bob, if you think I missed anything, feel free to chime in, but it's back to you folks now. If this amendment is acceptable to you all, you can vote to approve it and we can get signatures. If this is not the sort of agreement you had envisioned when we talked about it, you can either give us further guidance or stop the process, however you'd like to proceed.
I'll just respond to you, Andrew. That's a perfect representation. And just for the committee, through some direction from the superintendent, I've already begun to work with Scott on his behalf to figure out, what's next year going to look like. In doing that work, I can tell you that districts who have not engaged in these type of proactive conversations, they are not, the managers are not in the terminals. They're just not there. So I don't know what they're going to do, but that's not my issue. I just wanted to share that with the committee that, we've already engaged Scott yesterday and work with them again today, and it's going to increase in the amount of help we're going to need from them. So
I do have the amount, just so everybody knows, it's $162,476. Does that sound right, Bob? I'm looking at the paperwork from a couple meetings ago.
Well, that was already approved, right? We're just voting on if we are voting on the addendum, right?
Well, we made the payment subject to terms and an addendum.
That's correct.
Sure.
The payment was not made. In fact, it was specific that we had to, or the committee had to approve the terms of the amendment prior to any payment being made.
Right, so the only issue here is approval of the amendment. We've already approved the money subject to the approval of the addendum, which we're voting on now, if we are. Right.
So if I understand your question correctly, I think the answer is yes. The number isn't really subject to discussion. The number is the number. What is subject to discussion at this point is the amendment acceptable? If the committee says yes, then we'll go ahead, get it signed, and Mr. Ross will effectuate the payment on the agreed upon number. If the committee
All right,
says you
all
missed
right.
something, Andrew, then we'd have to address that. Or if the committee says we don't like something, we'd have to address that.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the addendum. That's the proper language here.
Well, I want to make sure we get the motion correct because
Sure.
we didn't come up with a pre-written motion. So Andrew, I guess it's motion to approve the addendum. Do you want language in there to say in the subsequent payment? How?
No, I mean, I think honestly, the agreement contemplates the payment period. I think it's 30 days, basically from receipt of invoice and from approval. So I think, Mr. McFadden's motion is probably accurate, just approval of the addendum as presented to the committee.
Okay. I want to make sure Robin has it. So Robin, the motion is the motion to approve the addendum to the school transportation agreement as presented to the committee. Okay, so Member McFadden made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, I'm the
Okay,
second queen.
Further discussion or questions? Everybody's good? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm a nay. So motion carries. Okay, we have the capital project update and bond discussion.
So the building committee will be meeting on July 1st. We're also doing the bid openings for the summer projects, which is the Metcalf School Safety. That's the classroom door entryways, and then the Wavalone boiler repair. So those bids will be opened on July 1st at 1, and the capital project building committee meeting is at 6 p.m. that evening. We had the Metcalf School walkthrough and the Wavalone walkthrough on June 16th, so those were successful. We've had 3 bidders on the Metcalf project and 2 bidders on the Wavalone project, but there may be more. But I saw those numbers. And at an agenda item for the July 1st will be the discussion of the September 2020 bond submittal. So that will be forthcoming. Any information on that will be forthcoming in some subsequent school committee meetings.
Any questions? Good, okay. Well, already, thank you. Okay, so we have important dates and meetings. The there's a correction to how it's listed in your agenda. So on Tuesday, June 30th at 7:15, we will have a live meeting at the high school. And that will have a short consent agenda. We have one appointment, and then we will go into executive session. And then at 8:30, we will have the special meeting for the results of the all-day referendum. We'll have Robin send out a reminder and on that meeting with the agenda.
So this is a
Okay.
live meeting?
Yes, Tuesday, June 30th, 7:15 at the high school library.
Okay.
Okay, then we have Tuesday, July 14th, we have a school committee meeting. The rest of the meetings that we'll go back to virtual. The only live one is going to be the June 30th one. Tuesday, August 11th, school committee meeting, and Tuesday, August 25th, school committee meeting if we need it. And that should do it. Jim, you good?
Good. We don't have any items in executive tonight.
Okay, so we're all set. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, member Donovan,
Aye.
member Green,
Aye.
member Allen,
Aye.
member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.